The ground shook before the monster appeared. Dust rose into the hot air as a deep growl echoed across the ruined city. Cracked buildings leaned like tired skeletons, and the once busy streets were now nothing but ash and broken metal. Fires still burned in the distant orange against the gray sky. Private Kane didn't move. He stood in the middle of the street, rifle slung across his shoulder, arms loose at his sides. His squad was gone, wiped out hours ago when the enemy dropped something that wasn't a machine or a weapon, but a creature. The air thickened, as if holding its breath. Then it came. A massive beast pushed through the smoke 30 feet tall, armored with bone-like plates, and with eyes like burning stars. Its claws scraped the street as it moved slowly, powerfully, breathing in the scent of the lone human standing before it. Behind the monster, a figure walked calmly. She was tall and lean, her skin pale, blue and smooth like glass. Her dark cloak dragged across the ground behind her, and her silver armor shimmered even in the ash-choked light. She didn't speak. She didn't need to. With just a glance, the monster stopped. The alien woman tilted her head and looked directly at Kane. "You are not afraid," she said in a clear, calm voice. Kane didn't blink. "I don't have time to be. You humans always say brave things before you die." "And yet," he said, stepping forward, "we don't die as easily as you expect." The monster growled, sensing tension. Its claws tensed against the broken ground. The alien woman raised her hand slightly. The beast relaxed again. Kane could feel the pressure in the air. This wasn't just a monster. It was a test, a trap, and she was using it like a tool. "Your kind doesn't understand control," she said. "We rule by strength, not chaos." Kane gave a short laugh. "Looks like you're the one hiding behind a beast." Her eyes narrowed. "I do not hide. I command." "Then why not face me without it?" The beast growled again, this time louder. Its claws scraped long scars into the earth. The woman didn't answer right away. Instead, she slowly walked forward, closing the distance between them. The creature remained still, but every muscle in its body twitched as if begging to be unleashed. "You think you're strong?" she asked. "You, alone with no army, no backup, no command." "I have one thing left," Kane said. "And what is that?" "My will." She circled him now, her eyes sharp, her footsteps soft. "Will doesn't win wars. Then why hasn't your monster attacked?" Her voice dipped lower. "Because I told it to wait. I want to see if you'll flinch." Kane didn't move. She stopped walking and faced him again. Interesting. He could feel sweat running down his back, but his face stayed calm. He had been trained for battle, but this was something else. This was a moment where death could arrive with one blink, or one breath. "I watched your people burn," she said, voice almost like a whisper. "Your ships falling, your weapons failing. Still, you stand. Because someone has to." She was quiet for a moment. Then she stepped back and raised her hand. The beast lifted its head and let out a roar that shook the sky. Kane stood firm. The roar stopped, and the alien queen lowered her hand again. "You are a strange species," she said. He smirked. "You have no idea." She turned to her beast. "Enough for today." Without another word, she turned and walked away, the monster following behind her like a trained pet. Kane stood alone again in the street, heart pounding in his chest. He had lived, but something told him this was not the end. Not even close. She hadn't unleashed her monster, because she was just getting started. Kane didn't sleep that night. He couldn't. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw her face. Again calm, sharp, unreadable, and behind her, the monster's glowing eyes burning through the smoke. It wasn't just the beast that bothered him. It was how she looked at him, like she was measuring something. The rest of his squad was gone. The signal from command was dead. His backup hadn't arrived. He was completely alone in a ruined alien city with a creature that could crush tanks, and a woman who controlled it with her eyes. Still, he hadn't flinched, and that meant something. Maybe not to her, but to him, it meant he was still human. By morning, the sky turned blood orange. Dust and smoke hung in the air like fog. Kane walked through the streets with his rifle low, eyes alert. He had no plan, just one goal: survive long enough to find out who she was, and stop whatever she was planning. He didn't have to wait long. near the old spaceport. Kane heard a strange sound like metal sliding on stone. He took cover behind a collapsed wall and peered over the edge. There she was. The alien queen stood on the far side of the plaza, speaking to a group of armored beings. They weren't her kind. Different armor, different language, but they all stood still. Listening closely, she pointed to a map projected in the air. A series of red marks blinked -targets. Human outposts. She's leading them, Kane whispered. The queen suddenly turned her head slightly. Her eyes landed on the broken wall. He ducked. Too late. You can come out, soldier. Her voice echoed across the plaza. You're not as hidden as you think. Kane slowly stood, rifle raised but not aimed. The other aliens turned sharply, weapons ready, but she held up her hand. No need for blood, she said. Yet. He stepped forward slowly. You're planning an assault. I'm planning a lesson, she replied. By destroying more outposts, by reminding your kind what power truly looks like. You think power is fear. She stepped down from the ledge and walked toward him, her soldiers staying behind. I think fear is useful, she said, especially when it keeps people in line. I'm not in line, Kane said. I noticed. They stood face to face. Again, she didn't bring the beast this time. That almost made him more nervous. You came back, she said, even after surviving our last meeting. I want answers. She looked amused. You think you'll get them by standing here, alone? I think you don't want to kill me. Why is that? Because I surprised you. She said nothing for a moment, then nodded once. That's true. Kane lowered his rifle slightly. What are you really doing here? These cities were abandoned for years. Why return now? She walked past him, motioning for him to follow. He hesitated, then did. She led him through a side tunnel under the plaza, down into an underground facility. Old tech hummed faintly in the walls. It was alien, nothing human, but still operational. At the center of the room was a massive round chamber with a black device in the middle. It pulsed slowly, almost like a heartbeat. This, she said, is what we're here for. What is it? An amplifier, ancient tech, designed to control minds, beasts, soldiers, anything weak enough to bend. Kane's stomach turned. You're going to use it on us? No, she said. I already have control over your kind, through fear, through the beast. This is for something bigger than the monster. She looked over at him, eyes serious, much bigger. He took a step closer to the machine. It gave off a low hum that seemed to vibrate in his bones. You didn't build this, he said. No, she replied. We found it, buried, forgotten. Now, I will awaken it. Why tell me this? Because you'll tell your people, and they won't believe you. Kane met her eyes. Then why not kill me? She smiled faintly. Because even a small fire can burn down a mountain if left alone. He realized something then. She wasn't just dangerous. She was smart. And she was planning more than war. She was planning control. As she turned and left the room, her words hung in the air. Run back to your kind, human. Warn them. They'll laugh, then they'll fall. Kane stood in the humming chamber, jaw tight. He wouldn't run. He'd fight. But first, he had to survive long enough to stop her. Kane climbed out of the underground tunnel, heart pounding, mind racing. The moment he reached the surface, he ducked into a burnt-out wreck of a building and pulled out his communicator. The screen flickered, static. He slapped the side and waited. Finally, a weak signal. Grayson Base. If anyone hears this, this is Private Kane. He said quickly. I'm alive. I've located the alien queen. She's building something, a mind control amplifier. She's not just leading a beast. She wants to control entire armies. The voice on the other end crackled. Kane, say again. Mind control? What's your location? I'm inside Sector 12. She has soldiers, different species. They're gathering around her. But listen, she's calm, like she knows something we don't. The signal cut for a second. Evac. Team en route. Stay hidden. Hold position if you can. Kane shut the communicator and looked around. The sky was darker now, heavy with storm clouds. He knew she let him go. That wasn't a mistake. She wanted him to report back. She wanted his people to underestimate her. But he wasn't going to fall into that trap. He moved quickly through the wreckage, heading toward the old calm tower near the edge of the ruins. If he could boost the signal, maybe he could send full intel images, sound data, something real, something the generals couldn't ignore. He reached the tower and slipped inside. The inside was half buried in rubble, but the power systems still glowed faintly. He pulled a small data stick from his belt, then climbed to the top level and plugged it in. The screen lit up. He began uploading what he saw, her, the beast, the underground device. Suddenly, the wind outside shifted. A low growl rolled across the open field. He froze. The air felt heavy again. He stepped to the edge of the broken tower and looked down. The monster was back. It stood still in the open like a statue made of muscle and bone. Glowing eyes scanned the air slowly. Then she appeared again. The alien queen stood beside the beast, her long dark cloak fluttering in the wind. "You're predictable, soldier," she called up to him. He stayed silent, trying to warn your people, trying to stop me. He aimed his rifle not to shoot, but to let her know he wasn't helpless. "I could command it to climb up and rip you apart," she said. "But I won't." "Why not?" He shouted back. "Because I want you to listen." She stepped forward, her voice clear despite the storm. "You think I'm the enemy, but I'm not the only one building armies." Kane lowered his rifle slightly. "What do you mean?" "There's something coming. Something even I fear. That's why I need the amplifier. I need control, Kane. Without it, we all die." He narrowed his eyes. "You expect me to believe. You know, I expect you to doubt me. But in time, you'll see." She looked at the beast, then back at him. "You faced my monster without fear. I respect that. But strength alone won't save you. When the darkness comes, your courage will burn out like a candle." "What darkness?" he demanded. She didn't answer. Instead, she turned and walked away, the beast following in silence. Kane gritted his teeth. He didn't trust her. But her eyes, they didn't lie. She believed what she was saying. Still, that didn't change the facts. She was dangerous, and if her machine worked, the line between war and complete control would disappear. He returned to the console and finished the transmission. Then he grabbed his gear and slipped out of the tower, staying low. He had one mission now: reach the evac zone, bring the data home, and prepare for whatever came next. Because whether the alien queen was lying or not, she wasn't done, and neither was he. Kane moved fast through the ruins, sticking to the shadows. Every crack in the ground, every broken wall, felt like it could hide an enemy. The monster's roar still echoed in his ears, even though it had faded into the distance. He couldn't stop thinking about what she said. She claimed she wasn't the real threat. She claimed something worse was coming. But if that was true, why build a machine to control minds? Kane didn't believe her. Not fully, but part of him had doubts now, and that bothered him more than anything else. As he neared the evac zone marked in his last signal, he saw smoke rising in the distance. His chest tightened. He rushed forward, heart pounding. The transport ship was there but on fire. Twisted metal, scattered bodies, and shattered equipment told him everything. They had found it. She had let him go, then destroyed the one path out. No survivors. Kane whispered. He knelt beside a fallen pilot. Burned, shot. It wasn't the monster's work. These were weapons. Alien weapons. Her soldiers. Kane stood and stared at the darkening sky. So now he knew. She didn't want him dead, not yet. But she didn't want him to leave either. He was being kept here. Not as a prisoner. As a witness. The moment that thought hit him, a low voice came from behind. You walk like you've lost something. Kane spun around, rifle raised. It was her. Again. Alone. This time, no beast, no army. She stepped out of the broken trees near the hilltop. Her silver armor reflected the last light of the sky. Her face was calm as always. You killed them. Kane said coldly. No, I only ordered a warning. She replied. They fired first. He didn't lower his weapon. She didn't flinch. I gave you a choice. Soldier, you chose to run. I chose to fight. Then why haven't you shot me yet? Kane hesitated. Because she wasn't lying. At least, not completely. I saw the beast. He said. I saw the amplifier. I know what you're trying to do. "Do you?" she asked, walking slowly toward the wrecked transport. "You think I want to enslave your kind? That I want to crush humans beneath my foot? That's not strength, that's waste. Then why build it?" She stopped and looked at him. "Because my people are not enough." Cain frowned. "For what?" She pointed to the horizon. "Look, there." He turned. There was nothing, just clouds. But then he saw it. The stars beyond the clouds were disappearing, one by one, like someone was covering them with black paint. "What is that?" he asked. "The beginning," she said softly. Cain's stomach turned cold. "How long? Days? Maybe less." He didn't move. He just watched the stars vanish, one after another. "I was sent to conquer," she said. "That's true. But when I found this world, I found something ancient buried, deep beneath the ground. Something left behind by those who fought the void before. The amplifier." She nodded. "It's not just for beasts. It's for binding wills, making many minds act as one. I need that unity. If I'm going to stop what's coming." "Why?" "Not ask for help." Her expression darkened. "Because no one listens to a queen with blood on her hands." He lowered his rifle slowly. "What do you want from me?" "I want you to stay," she said. "Not as a prisoner, as a witness, as someone who can speak for both sides." Cain stared at her. "You think I'll trust you after all this?" "No," she said. "But I think you want to survive, and you want your people to survive. So do I." The wind picked up. The flames behind them cracked louder. Cain looked once more at the black sky. The stars kept going dark. He had never felt so small. "I'm not your ally," he said. "I know, but I'll listen." She stepped back and nodded. "Then follow me. If the stars go out, it won't matter who commands monsters, only who's left to stand." Cain picked up his gear, his rifle still at his side, and he followed her into the unknown, not because he trusted her, but because the darkness was real. Cain walked behind her through the dead forest, his boots crunching over dry roots and broken stone. The fire from the destroyed evac ship still flickered behind them, casting long shadows through the trees. The air felt strange now, heavy, as if it knew what was coming. She didn't speak as they moved. Her pace was steady, confident. She didn't even glance back to check if he was still there. Cain followed without a word, rifle on his back, mind racing. Everything had changed. He had come here thinking she was the enemy, a tyrant using fear and monsters to crush human resistance. But now she was talking about a threat so big it made war feel small. The stars were going dark, and she was preparing for something worse than conquest. They reached a clearing, at the base of a mountain. At its center stood an ancient structure, part temple, part machine. Huge metal spires reached into the sky, and symbols older than any human language glowed faintly on the walls. Cain stopped and stared. "What is this?" She finally turned. "This is the heart of the amplifier, the place where the old ones made their final stand. It's buried under this structure." He stepped forward slowly, feeling a low vibration beneath his boots. "It's alive." "Yes," she said, "and it's waking up." As she approached the structure, her beast appeared from the shadows, walking beside her without a sound. It didn't growl at Cain this time. It just stared at him as if watching, waiting. "Everything you've seen so far," she said, "was only the beginning. The amplifier is not a weapon. It's a key to what? To survival." Cain walked up beside her. "You want to link minds together, join armies, thoughts, maybe even emotions." "Exactly," she said. "If we face this alone, we die. If we face it as one, we might have a chance. But that kind of power," he said, "can also be used to take everything from people, to erase freedom. That's what we fear." She nodded slowly. "And you should. That's why I've never activated it alone." Cain looked at her carefully. "Then what are you waiting for?" She looked at him. "You." He stepped back. "What? I need another will, one strong enough to stand beside mine, to share the power. Balance it." "You mean connect?" "Yes," she said. "Just for the activation. You'll be part of it. Just for a moment, if you agree." Cain looked up at the tower. The energy pulsing through it wasn't just heat or sound, it felt emotional. It reached into him, searching. He had every reason to walk away, but something deep inside told him if he did, no one else would be left to stand in this place. What if it kills me? He asked. It might, she said honestly. But it might also save billions. He looked at the beast. It sat silently, now calm, as if sensing his decision. Then he looked back at her and held out his hand. Let's do it. She took it. The moment their hands touched, the structure lit up. Lines of golden energy ran through the ground, through their feet, through the spires. The mountain rumbled. The sky above pulsed once, like lightning without thunder. Cain felt something hit his mind like a wave of thought, light, and memory all at once. He saw flashes of her life, her battles, her fears, her loneliness, her past. And he knew she saw his too. He didn't fight it. He let her see, and in that moment, something locked into place. The tower roared with power. The ground shook. The beast howled into the sky. And then silence. The energy faded. The glow settled. Cain dropped to one knee, breathing hard. His vision swam. His hands trembled. But he was alive. And so was she. You did it, he said. Voice weak. We did it, she replied. The tower now pulsed gently active, awake. A signal stretched out across the stars, calling others, welcoming unity, warning of what approached. And Cain understood something now. She had never truly commanded the monster. She had earned its trust, just like she was earning his. The days that followed were quiet, but the kind of quiet that made Cain uneasy. The amplifier had been awakened, and the golden signal it sent had reached far beyond their system. Other outposts, both human and alien, had started responding. Small groups, scouts, a few brave commanders. They weren't allies yet, but they were listening. Inside the mountain base, the ancient halls glowed with soft light now. The machine didn't speak, but it breathed. Cain could feel it, like a heartbeat under his feet. He sat near the platform where he and the alien queen had connected. His hands were steady again, though he still remembered the sensation of her. Thoughts pressing against his memories, regrets, strength. They hadn't spoken about it since, but something between them had changed. She entered the chamber without sound, as always. Her beast followed behind her, eyes calmer now, more thoughtful. Then wild. You're awake early, she said. Cain nodded. Couldn't sleep. She stood beside him, looking out at the glowing spires. Since we activated it, things have begun to shift, she said. 3 fleets responded yesterday. 1 is human. 1 is neutral. 1, I don't know. You think they'll help us? I think they're watching, she replied, and waiting to see if we turn on each other first. He gave a short laugh. Sounds about right. She glanced at him. You trust me more now? Cain looked at her honest. I do. And do you trust the amplifier? I trust what it did when we stood together. I felt you weren't lying. She nodded once. Then I need you to do something hard. What is it? She motioned for him to follow. Together, they walked down a lower corridor that curved deep beneath the ground. Ancient cables glowed in the walls. Strange symbols appeared and faded. Like ghostly messages, they reached a long chamber. In the center stood a new device, small, box-like, with thin wires reaching toward the walls. This is a link chamber, she explained. It can allow others to briefly connect to the amplifier like we did. Cain raised an eyebrow. You want others to experience it? Yes, if we're going to fight this threat, they must feel what we felt. They must understand each other, not just talk, feel. He stepped toward the machine. Who's the first subject? You. He turned back slowly. Again? Yes, with others. 1 by 1. Commanders, soldiers, leaders who don't trust me, or don't trust you. Cain sighed. And you think linking minds will fix that? I think it's the only chance we have. He paced for a moment, then stopped. You're asking me to let strangers read my soul. I'm doing the same, she said. Every time I connect, I risk them seeing things I regret. Cain looked down. Do you regret a lot? She didn't answer for a long time. Then quietly, yes. Cain nodded slowly. Then maybe it's worth it. Later that day, the first visitors arrived, to human officers, 1 alien diplomat. Suspicious eyes, tight words, unsteady hands. Cain stood before them beside the queen. He introduced her not as an enemy, but as a commander fighting for survival. Some didn't believe him until they entered the chamber. 1 by 1, they stepped into the link, touched the core, connected, and came out changed. Not completely, not with perfect trust, but shaken, softened. Different, the diplomat wept. The officer who'd called Kane a traitor now saluted him. By the end of the day, 9 more ships had sent word. More wanted to come, more wanted to connect. The signal was growing, but so was the darkness that night. Kane sat with the Queen under the open sky. The stars above were few now. So many. We're already gone. Do you think we can stop it? He asked. I don't know, she said. But I believe in what we've started. He looked at her carefully. I used to think monsters only followed orders. But your beast, it follows you because it believes in you. She looked over. He knows I'd die for him. Would you die for us? Yes. Kane nodded. Then maybe we can win. She said nothing, but her silence said everything. The sky was no longer dark, it was empty. Stars that had always been there were gone. The horizon pulsed faint red as if something enormous was pressing into the edge of space. A sound, low and deep, vibrated through the ground, not like thunder, but like a warning from the universe itself. The darkness had arrived. Inside the mountain base, the amplifier's golden core pulsed faster, its ancient lights flickering like nervous breaths. The connection lines stretched now across 12 fleets. Humans, aliens, old rivals, all linked through the signal. Kane and the Queen had awakened. But it wouldn't be enough unless they acted as one. Kane stood in the main control chamber, armor strapped tight, weapon at his side. But this time, he didn't feel like just a soldier. He felt like something more. She entered the room in silence. As always, her presence came with calm strength. The beast walked beside her, taller than any man, armored, glowing faintly from the amplifier's light. The others are in position, she said. Any losses? To listening ships never answered. But the rest, they're ready. Kane nodded. Then let's begin. They walked to the core together, not just as human and alien, but as leaders, as equals. The last phase was dangerous. The amplifier now had enough reach to broadcast emotion, intent, and will across entire systems. But it needed one final thing. A shared command. Not forced. Chosen. They stood on the central platform. Are you ready? She asked. Kane looked at the golden light. I was ready the moment you didn't kill me. She smiled. You were never afraid. I was, he said. But I stood anyway. They touched the core together. Instantly, the link burst wide. Across space, hundreds of commanders felt it, not voices, but connection. Unity, fear, courage, all of it shared. Ships from different species formed into tight attack lines. Defenses lit up, beacons flashed. The darkness reached the outer edge. It wasn't made of ships. It was like a wave-living shadow, absorbing everything it touched. It didn't communicate. It didn't ask for peace. It only pushed forward. The Queen raised her hand, and the amplifier flashed. The beast roared so loudly that the stone beneath them cracked. It stood tall, glowing now with the same golden light as the core. Kane watched it with awe. It's ready, she whispered. We all are. The first clash happened in orbit. A small drone ship touched the edge of the darkness and vanished. Consumed. Then, the real fight began. Alien cruisers fired weapons that had not been used in generations. Human carriers dropped plasma bombs, surrounding the black wall with bursts of fire. For the first time, the darkness paused, but only for a moment. Then it shifted and struck back. A bolt of pure shadow slammed into the third fleet. 3 ships blinked out of existence. The link through the amplifier trembled. Kane gritted his teeth and pressed harder into the core. Hold steady, don't break. The Queen shouted across the signal. Together, the amplifier flared brighter, and then something unexpected happened. The beast leapt from the platform and vanished into the light. Kane turned to her. What is it doing? She whispered, answering the call. The creature was more than a weapon. It had always been tied to the amplifier. The Queen had never forced it. It had chosen her long ago. And now it was choosing again. A burst of golden light exploded across the sky. The darkness reeled back, not destroyed, but slowed. The amplifier held strong. Kane saw through the Link pilots, who once hated each other, flying wing to wing. Alien engineers guiding human gunners. Fear replaced with focus, command replaced with trust. And for the first time, they weren't fighting alone. They were fighting as one. Hours passed. The wave didn't stop, but it didn't win either. When the light faded, the darkness had been pushed back. Not destroyed but wounded. That night, on the silent mountain, Cain stood at the edge of the cliff beside the queen. The stars above were returning faint, but present. "You didn't lie," he said. "Neither did you." She looked up at the sky. "We didn't win today," she said. "No," Cain replied, "but we didn't fall." She nodded slowly. "Then we live, and we fight again." He turned toward her. Together, she held out her hand. He took it, and the monster watched them both with quiet pride.